I thought I'd give you guys a little brickle today.
Can't get too much prickle.
No, you
I
can't. You really cannot.
I usually sit outside, but the mosquitoes are so bad that
Oh,
even with a fan blowing on my legs, the mosquitoes are like fighting through the fan.
no, it's a mess. It is an absolute mess. We have a back stoop, and it's almost impossible to go out there also. All right, let's see. I'm going to cut the video, and then I'm going to share screen. Which one do I? Let's do this one first. Stop the share.
Sam, do you know that you're coming up as Deborah Billings?
Oh, thank you. That's Christy House's. We're using Christy House's line, and that. Yeah,
Okay,
let me change that.
the
Thank you for letting me know. I.
your your voice. You may want to clarify that because the Sam's voice coming out of Deborah
Deborah
Billings is
Billings. That's right. And God forbid anybody wrote anything. And Deborah Billings, the host of the. Here we go.
I just thought Deborah had a very deep voice.
That's All
it's
right.
it's correct
Let
now.
people in. Let's go ahead and let them in.
Hi, Joy.
All right, I got attendees. Looking good. I see Elena. Hello, Elena.
Hi, Sam. How
Good
are
to
you?
have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting.
Daniel Prats, thank you for stopping in.
My pleasure.
And I see we've got three more guests and guests coming in. All right, let me just make sure that Ernesto's not in yet. Let's wait one more minute for Ernesto, and then we'll get started. Let me. I'm just texting Ernesto now, and we're waiting for one other person, Katie Gant, and then we'll get started. All right, while we're waiting, I'm going to go through and just do some introductions. I know you all know who I am. My name's Sam Joseph. I'm here in two capacities today. One as the Director of Advocacy for Brickell Homeowners Association, but also as the CEO of the new organization, the Urban Core Community Coalition. I want to thank you all for coming out today to our press conference to talk about the Southside Development Project. Before we get started, I do want to go over just a couple of Zoom etiquette rules and then do some introductions and then we'll get started. First of all, we are taking questions today, not only from questions and comments, not only from the press, but also from our attendees. We do have residents and other community stakeholders who will be attending the press conference today. If you would like to ask a question or make a comment, please send it through the Q&A or chat screen, and we will certainly make sure to get your comments and your questions addressed. Please send them all. Even if we don't answer them today in the press conference, there will be a record of your question or comment, and I promise you that we will get back to all of them before the end of next week and make sure that they're addressed. Also, once we get started, we're going to go with video for the panelists, video and mics on for the panelists only, and then the others you'll be able to hear. But as we move into the Q&A section, depending on the question or the comment, I may activate your mic or your video so that you can ask it personally. And I think that's all for right now. Oh, by the way, if there happens to be any issues, and we did have an issue with our last virtual call, we will end immediately, and then I will send a private notice to the panelists and speakers, and we'll go ahead and redo the press conference privately, record it, and then we'll send it out to the media. I'm just not going to put up with any nonsense or any craziness, especially since I see some people who have their children and family participating in this session. So, without further ado, I want to introduce you to some of the players that you're going to be hearing from today. First of all, I want to introduce you to Joy Prevor, who is the DNA education chair, but more appropriately for today, she is the parent of a child attending Southside Preparatory Academy, K through 8, and she'll talk to you a little bit about why Southside Park is important to her and important to her family. Next, we'll have Dr. Katie Gant, who is the president of the Rhodes Miami Neighborhood Association, and also a local parent who uses Southside Park. Even though she lives in the Rhodes, uses Southside Park with her children. And then I'll talk to you as the CEO of the UCCC about how this park is important beyond the Brickell area, because I know we're talking about less than an acre property that's in the Brickell area, and it would seem like, what's the big deal? It's worth more money than it is having an open green space. But as you know, it's in one of the most densely populated areas in the state, if not the country. And especially in this day and age with our COVID protocols and needing to be outdoors, it's become much more critical than it even used to be. You'll also get a chance to hear today from hopefully a past PTA president. I don't know if she's the current PTA president, but it was a past PTA president at Southside. And we've also got our attorney, David Winker, who will talk to you about some of the legal determinations, and then we'll move into advocacy next steps and where do we go from here. So Ernesto's here. Hello, Ernesto.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. So Ernesto, I'm going to pass the mic over to you with opening statements. We'll start with Ernesto and then move on to Joy and Katie and me.
Well, good morning. Thank you for being here today. And we are extremely concerned what is going on. We feel that the city is doing backdoor deals, affecting and impacting the quality of life of our community. And we decided that we will definitely, since our voices are not heard anymore, there is no way that we're going to stand and sit down and wait for all these things to happen. And there is no other way that to take legal action against the city if it is necessary.
Thank you, Ernesto. I appreciate that. Joy Prevor, as I mentioned to you before, we've been doing a lot of work with the Downtown Neighbors Alliance, and Joy, and particularly around education. And as I mentioned, she is a Southside parent. Joy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sam. I'd like to thank the Brickell Homeowners Association for taking leadership on this issue. It's an extremely important issue, I think, for the whole greater downtown Miami community. As a parent of Dylan, who is here with me today, because he too finds this issue so important, I will share with you that on an average school day, we pick up from school and we take the Metro Mover home to our apartment. And on the way, a very critical stop is up at Southside Park, where Dylan here has the pleasure of not only enjoying the actual playground at Southside Park, but being able to run around in the open space. He plays basketball at the basketball courts. He climbs trees. He does all kinds of fun things that a child should be able to do. And living in an urban environment as we do, there are very few opportunities to do that. So Southside Park is a very important part of our family, and I believe in a very important part of all families who live in the area, and especially families who send their kids to Southside. So I am pleased that we're here today to have this conversation, because I think it's very important that the Miami community understand that something went very awry with this deal. This is clearly a situation where there was a developer who was interested in the plot of land, and in order to justify being able to make this happen, they added a fire station to the deal so that they could basically loop around a charter violation, right? And they created a public benefit agreement to make this happen. Now, I ask myself as a taxpayer and part of that public that is supposed to benefit from this agreement, if this is a public benefit agreement, where was the public input prior to this issue even being considered? I'd like to know, were there forums where we as community members were invited to opine on this issue? Secondly, I'd like to understand why it is that it is possible that this land can basically be given away with no bid, no appraisal of the land. I would assume that this land is worth so much more than what the city is getting for this deal. And I find it, quite frankly, criminal that there has not been a process to understand what another developer might even be interested in paying. Why is it that we are going with this deal? What is it about this deal that is so good, right? Now, as far as the park itself, what has been shared with me is that, yes, the park will be, during the construction process, as a staging and parking area. And based on what I've learned, that means that the park itself could be closed 2-3 years while they do this whole construction. And I think that's a horrible thing for us as community members to accept. And after the fact, after the construction is done, there is a part of the agreement that means that the developer will have to do some investments in Southside Park. I believe the amount is $3 million, and that's very nice. But there are no guarantees for us, the residents, what those $3 million will produce and whether we will have the park that we have right now on the other side of this. There are also a lot of questions about what will happen in that park space after the fact. For example, there is a food and beverage license situation where they could turn the historic schoolhouse that's on the property of Southside Park into a retail concession, right? So it sounds to me like this could end up becoming basically an amenity for the condo that will be there. And we as the residents have no guarantee that we will emerge from the construction with an actual park. So those are the key concerns that I have about this issue. The technicalities of how this happened, questions about the fact that the agreement that is actually in place and was executed by the management of the city was never formally reviewed by the city commissioners. I find that very strange, very suspect, and I believe that we should have better answers about why that is. And quite frankly, I think this brings us to a bigger issue of how that community can accommodate this size of a condo, given that we don't have the infrastructure to support the existing development that we have in place. So, for example, we can't even accommodate all of our kids at schools in the area, but yet we're going to build a new condo, and the development of this condo has no assurances of creating new school seats. So I am here today to share that there's something very wrong that is taking place here. And I appreciate that the BHA is taking leadership in getting to the bottom of this and bringing the attention of the Miami community to this issue.
Thank you very much, Joy. I really appreciate it. And it's nice having the boots on the ground vision of what's really happening down there, because when you don't live in the area, it could be easy to think to yourself, again, it's less than an acre, and it's usually doesn't look that great, and how much usage could it possibly get? So thank you for giving us that. Dr. Katie Gant, as I mentioned, is the president of the Rhodes Miami Neighborhood Association and also a Southside Park user. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Katie. And so I've lived in the Rhodes for a little over 11 years. I have a 5 and newly 3-year-old. When we moved to the neighborhood, we had no children. We were far away from having children. We loved the Rhodes for its proximity to the amenities of downtown, but also the ability to have space to walk our dogs at the time. Now that we have young children, we've come to realize that the Rhodes really actually lacks parks within our neighborhood, within the boundaries of our neighborhood, from 15th Road all the way down to 12th Avenue. There's not a single green space for our residents. We do have parks that are on different sides of the roads. We have Triangle Park to the northeast there. We have Alice Wainwright if you want to walk across a couple busy streets. And we also have the new park on 12th Avenue at the Net office. But depending on where you live in the neighborhood, these could be a significant distance to walk for you. For me, for example, I live on the corner closest to Brickell of the Rhodes. And so for me, actually, the closest park to my home is Southside Park. It is just about half a mile from my home, and it's closer than all of the other parks that are in the Rhodes. So my children love to go to Southside Park. My 5-year-old loves to climb on the large climbing structure. My 3-year-old loves to explore the grassy areas and watch the dogs playing there. We also have 2 dogs that don't have space to run on our property, and we don't have any dog parks near us. And so our dogs love Southside Park as well. Southside is a great stop for us along the walk to work. I work at the University of Miami Medical Campus, and so when the weather allows it, and as the underline continues to be improved in phase 2, I expect to be walking my children down the underline into Brickell and to the Metro Mover station. And every time we have done that, the kids beg me to stop at Southside. And we do that every single time we go into Brickell. And it's a really, really happy time for them to get their energy out, usually after school because we don't have time before. But this is a really useful amenity for them and for me and for our family. And as the demographics of the roads have been shifting over the past 10 years that I've seen. You know, when we moved in 11 years ago, we were one of the first younger families, younger couples on our street. Now we have tons of new families. There are 3 new babies just on my block within the past year. And so all of these families are paying taxes, and we expect that we will have access to the amenities that that our tax dollars are going to support. I have a ton of friends who live in District 2 down in Coconut Grove, and you know, they all have these beautiful pocket parks that are within walking distance. We go to their house, they have space for their dogs to run, they have space for their kids to run in the roads. And in Brickell, we don't have access to those spaces despite the number of people who are living in higher density, and we deserve and we demand that that our elected officials provide those similar types of amenities to the residents of our areas. When the city and county commission races were happening over the past few years, and Commissioner Carollo and others, you know, came to speak to us, we, as the neighborhood association, we talked about what our priorities were for our neighborhood, and parks were at the top of that list. And Commissioner Carollo actually has been really supportive of the roads over the past few years, and of the other neighborhoods in District 3 to increase the park areas. He supported the acquisition of empty lots within our neighborhood in order to establish pocket parks. And that has met some resistance from some of our more established neighbors. But he's persisted, and I hope that Commissioner Carollo, along with the rest of the city commissioners, continue to prioritize these public spaces for his residents, because he really has been supportive of us, and he needs to understand that we will not allow developers to come in and to hurt our quality of life, because we all have options, right? We can live other places. We do not need to live in the city of Miami. We love the city of Miami, but we don't have to live here. And if we are not able to have access to the types of things that our family, that support our families, you know, it hurts us. And so we need to continue prioritizing quality of life for our residents. And along with Joy, as she mentioned, you know, I had no idea about this at all. It was very unclear on the commission agenda what was going to be discussed. You know, we all are very busy people, and unless you work within the city commissioner's offices, I can't imagine that you would have had any idea that this was coming up. And you know, I thank the organizers of this and the way that we are able now to communicate in this virtual environment. You know, we need our city to outreach to us so that we have that opportunity for input, just like we have now, just like we are being provided a platform. They need to hear from us, and they have opportunities to expand on the way that they are reaching out to the community, and they need to take advantage of those. There's no excuses now. We all know how to do this, and they don't have an excuse for not reaching out to us and allowing us an opportunity to have input on this project at this time. So thank you to the organizers, and I really am looking forward to continuing to advocate for our neighborhoods, for downtown Brickell, the roads, the urban neighborhoods. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I love this area and I love my neighbors, and I'm going to make sure that my kids and that my family have a really nice place to grow and to develop. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gant. Katie, I appreciate it. And you segued into my presentation almost perfectly. Look, Brickell Homeowners Association just this year in February started a brand new organization, the Urban Core Community Coalition. Our job, this organization, is to look at ways for us to organize and mobilize the folks who are living in Miami's urban core, who were made a promise by their municipality that they would have a wonderful place, that if they made the sacrifice to move to the urban core, dense population, that you'd have a wonderful place to live, work, play, and they hate when I say this last one, and learn together. That means having the infrastructure that will support that promise. And right now that infrastructure doesn't exist. It's not maintained well. And when we get right down to brass tacks, we're trying to get rid of that infrastructure. I don't know if it's because as a municipality we can't afford to take care of it. I do know why. Because it is worth more for other things than just being a community asset. And that's unacceptable. Again, the promise was made: live, work, play, and learn together. Especially now in this COVID age where we are social distancing and folks have to get out. And I've mentioned it to the folks who live in that area. I don't know how you do it. I live in Coral Gables in a home. I have pocket parks that my city makes up for me. I've got all the other infrastructure that will allow me to get out. But for 9 weeks staying in your condominium and you're unable to go to the tiniest little piece of green space that you have available because your municipality thinks there's a public benefit that may be better coming your way is unacceptable. And then the last thing I'll say is this: we just got Southside Park back. Remember that Southside Park was closed for 3 years due to contamination. So those residents just got their asset back, just started using it again and enjoying it again. And now we're talking about closing it for another 2 to 3 years, and maybe permanently if it does become that amenity of the new building. That is unacceptable. We, as I've always said, as the taxpayers and residents, we don't want things done to us. We want things done for us at our request, not by hiding it and putting it away, and hopefully the issue will go away. So let's move on to some local resident testimonials, and I know we've got a few people. I want to start out, first of all, with our Director of Communications, Abby Ape, who I know lives in and around the area and also has a pulse on the residents in the area and our members who talk to her a lot about the need for that park. So Abby, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Ape. I am a mom of 2 boys, a 7-year-old and a newborn. He's right here. I've spoken to a lot of families from the community, and one of the concerns, of course, is that their children are not going to have a green space anymore. One of them specifically, my good friend Natia Menta, she's a stakeholder in our community. She's mentioned to me moving north to Aventura, where her family can enjoy green spaces, and that's obviously a concern to us, but to the city of Miami, because they are losing taxpayer dollars, quality families who want to make the city their home, but unfortunately due to losing of green spaces, schools, things of that such make it very difficult for families to want to stay in the inner city. And so to those that are listening, we definitely implore you to take notice of the community, to ask us to take point in wanting to seek their input, because we are most definitely taxpayers of our community, and we have a word, we have things that we want to say to the advancement of our community, and thus we ask that we be respected and just take it into consideration, because our families most definitely need a green space and a playground. Right now, all the playgrounds are closed in our community, and our kids just kind of have to find a way to entertain themselves and to enjoy the outdoors without being in a playground. And so if this land is developed, I know the plans do not even have a playground on it. They have a dog park, but they don't have a playground. And there's plenty and hundreds of kids and thousands of kids in Brickell that need playgrounds. So those are just my 2 cents and things that I've heard from many of the residents that are in the area, from our Brickell residents.
Thank you so much, Abby. And I can't stress enough, because 2 people have said it over and over again. If they can't find the amenities and the infrastructure that they need in the city of Miami, they will leave. We as Brickell homeowners have been dealing with this issue now for over 30 years, whether it be about schools. Southside Park was why we were born, green space. If you make a promise and you want those taxpayers to stay there, you have to fulfill that promise. And we don't want to see any more taxpayers leaving the city of Miami, because it causes issues all down the line. I also wanted to talk to have Christina Alessi. She is I don't know, Christina, if you're the current or the past president of the Southside PTA, so you can tell them your official title, but she is a mom who lives in the area and has been going to that school for a while and can tell you how important the park is even to the school, though they don't get to use it.
Well, good morning, everybody. And I was a treasurer of the Southside Elementary PTSA for 4 years while Lala was the president. And now, as of a few nights ago, I'm the president of Young Women's Preparatory Academies PTSA. And, yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's a big honor because our school is on its way. I'm empowered by these young women. So thank you, Ernesto and Sam, for organizing this. Joy, I met you at Southside Park. You know, our first engagement, aside from Southside expansion, was at Southside Park. So for me, I'm a mom of 3 daughters. I've been living in the Brickell area for 20 years. I fell in love with Ernesto a few years back, and he gave me this story of how he fought for Southside Park, because I was very adamant for that park, not to lose the park, but in conjunction of having that park to make it the home of our middle school, because I thought it fit well together, having the school on that property and having the park and making the park accessible to residents outside of school hours. Unfortunately, that fell through. I forget, but the co-listing of the fire department and the school was a no-go a few years ago. That's a little backdrop of the history of Southside Park, and when we didn't have the park and it was closed for 3 years. So I just wanted to thank you again, Sam and Ernesto, for being our voices when we can't be heard, when you do attend these meetings and you do approach the city commissioners regarding this sacred piece of land, because it is sacred. And I don't just want to be the voice of a Brickell mom. I want to be a voice for the West Brickell residents, the people who literally live on the perimeter of that park. I've grown close to many families that live there, and they are seriously being pushed out of their neighborhood. Regentrification could, it sounds pretty, and it always looks pretty, but it's not very pretty for the poor families or the low-income families that will eventually be pushed out. And they are people too. They're lovely families, beautiful, hardworking, 12, 14 hours a day, making minimum wage just to pay rent, $2,000 a month in rent for very bad living conditions. And I wish the city would, if we cannot stop this project, there has to be something in it for those people immediately around that area. Affordable housing, something. And the plans that I saw are just so pretentious. My kid is not going to want to go play. I saw the circles in all the trees, the bushes. That's not what we know and love. Our kids don't want to sit and play on another concrete pathway jungle. They want it the way it is. The young men who go there and play basketball just to do something with their time. You know, this park does more than just our little kids. It also, you know, the young adults that go there and play. Yeah, thank you, Sam. You see how they, what is that? What is that? That's all, I mean, I don't want to take up too much time, but this, it upsets me so much because I'm not for the regentrification of West Brickell. I'm really not. I think we got to leave it alone. We have to help the people in that community. They can't be pushed out. Southside Elementary School is their home school, and it's the best school for them. It is some of our kids, it's their ticket to the next level. And if they keep getting pushed out into Little Havana or into others, like, it's not helping our community as a whole. I mean, yeah, it makes it look prettier, but it steals the charm, what little charm we have left in Brickell. And
Perfect. Christina, thank you so much. Again, it is powerful when you hear from the people who are on the ground and have to live it and breathe it every day. So thank you. I appreciate it. I want to introduce you to one more resident from the area, and she is the former president of the Southside PTA. Again, longtime advocate for not just the school, but for Brickell and for Southside Park. Liliana Pizarro?
Yes. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Lala. Floor's yours.
Thank you for having me. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what's been going on for the past few years. I was a Brickell resident since 1989, so I've been there for a very long time. Didn't have children back then, and in 2006, we had our first baby. So she started school, kindergarten, and immediately, and then I had another baby in 2007. So that makes two babies. And they both started pre-K and kindergarten. And immediately I started thinking, where are my children going to go for middle school? I don't really see a middle school in the area. We got together with some parents. One of them was Christina. Thank you, Christina. And Elena Bondarenko, who helped us a lot through this, and another parent, her name was Rebecca Carter. We started asking questions. Where do these children go to school? Where do these children, where are these children supposed to play? What's going on? So back when my children were in kindergarten, their PE time and their field day was actually done at Southside Park. We would cross the street and have the children enjoy the park. This was done for many years, even before me. And suddenly the park closed for the soil contamination. And the park was closed for a very long time. Then we started seeing crowded classes and more crowded classes. And children didn't even have a good and healthy environment to learn because there was too many of them stuck in a class. So we wanted an expansion for Southside Elementary, and we also wanted a middle school. And finally, last year, we got what it was to have to start with 6th grade over at Southside. Name was changed, and now it's Southside Preparatory Academy. But my children don't even go there anymore because even though I started when my kids started advocating for schools, when my kids were in pre-K and kindergarten, we didn't make it. I didn't have the privilege of being able to have my children start the 6th grade over at Southside Preparatory. And now we're also going to be out of a park that, yes, I understand it's not used completely, and yes, it could be a better park, and we could build gates and stuff around a portion of the park to make it a dog park, and not the dogs just run around the whole park and take over all the green space. I mean, we can do a lot to fix the park, but taking it away completely is going to be really, really sad and bad for the community. A few years ago, we were told that we would be able to come into an agreement with the city and have the secondary school, that means the 8th part, the 6th through 8, over where the fire station was. And we started the whole conversations, and it would have been great because the 6th, 7th, and 8th grades would be where the fire station is. And we would have a mixed use between the fire station and a middle school. And the city came back to us and told us that wasn't possible because the footprint was too small. So the footprint is too small to house a school that is only used from 8 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, but can be used to have a huge 60-story apartment hotel complex on it. So that doesn't sound right. I don't know if I can share.
I got the image. Unfortunately, I can't get it up, Lala. Maybe you can talk folks through the numbers, because I'll send it out after the press conference to everyone, because it is a very, very timely image in terms of how Southside has expanded.
Okay, let me see if I can at least put it as my background, and then maybe that way I can do something. I don't know. Hold on. I'm sorry.
And while she's trying to get it up, I'll read off the stats.
Okay.
It's
So here it is.
4,765. Oh, you got it up there. I saw it. 4,765 new units in the Southside District by 2017. 1,978 of those units delivered by June of 2016. 710, that's the current capacity of Southside. And there's only one school in that area to serve all those new units and new families. And I know people keep saying this, oh, well, Brickell is not Brickell's for young people and the independently wealthy and mobile. Sorry, folks, walk the streets in Brickell and in the urban core. Families are there in droves. If you could get through the sidewalks with all the strollers, you'd be lucky. It is a different place than what we thought it was. I'm sorry, Lala, you go right ahead.
No. I mean, that's exactly how it is. And mind you, these numbers all come from 2014. These are 2014 numbers. This is not something that we put together recently. These units were to be introduced in 2016 and 2017, and we are now in 2020, and really nothing else has been done to our schools. So they said the footprint was too small for a school, but it is big enough for a 60-story tower with more children, with that will not need a school. These children are going to need a school eventually. So that's a little bit of what I have to say. And knowing the story and fighting for schools and advocating and going to downtown with those wonderful education summits that BHA put together. And I mean, this something has to be done and we don't have schools, we don't have parks, yet the community keeps growing, and we need more amenities. This is not an area only for young people. I was young when I moved to Brickell 21 years ago. Now I have two kids, 13 and 14, and eventually had to move out of the area. So we don't want this for the Brickell community.
No, we don't. Lala, thank you so much. Again, look, folks, the part of the reason we sent you out all of that history is because we needed you to know that this has been going on for a long time. This park has been on folks' radar for a long time. And if we don't keep our eyes open and peeled and stay engaged, as Dr. Gant mentioned, you could easily, in a day or two, learn that most of your amenities are going away. I want to turn over to David Winkler, our BHA's lawyer, to talk a little bit about some of the legal determinations that we've made, and Ernesto both can talk about next steps in terms of our legal pursuits of trying to make sure this project doesn't move forward.
Nice to see everybody. David Winter here. I'm an attorney. I'm a business attorney, a real estate attorney. I've been active, in many of our civic issues. And sitting here listening to residents, what is happening, the frustration that's being expressed, hits all the notes, right? Lack of competitive bidding leads to special deals for special people. It leads to no community input, or a lack of community input. It hits our parks under pressure. And it hits on lack of responsiveness from our elected officials. Everyone's asking for this to get looked at. We'll see what comes of that. I do want to raise a couple fundamental legal issues to make sure everyone aware of. Everyone's frustration ties into things that are in our charter, in our city code, that protect us from these very things. So for example, there is a requirement that all deals involving city land require competitive bidding. It's the only way we can know that we're getting the best deal possible, that we're getting fair market value. This is no exception. They're trying to run this under an exception that involves a transfer of land involving to a government agency for a municipal project. So in this case, they're saying, we're going to give them the land, they're going to build us a fire station. The problem that I have with that use of that example, I don't think it's really applicable, because the exception is designed for, hey, we're going to give land to the county to build a substation for a jail. We're going to give the land to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to build a berm for sea level rise. Those are what are contemplated. So basically, you end up in a situation where the absurdity of their argument is, and what I sent in the letter that some of you all saw was the idea of, let's give the MRC, right? Let's give the city's building the MRC to a developer for $1, and in exchange, they're going to agree to build us a bus stop. They're going to agree to build us a small park. It's not what it was meant to do. This is land given to a private developer. It needs to be put to public bid. I also want to raise two other issues that have come up. The schoolhouse is located there, as all of us who've been to the park know. And the idea is the schoolhouse is a city-owned historic site. And for the first time in the city's history, the city is giving away the transferable development rights for that. What the idea behind TDRs transferable development rights, is to say, okay, we know you can't develop this land, you can't develop this building any further. We're going to compensate you for giving up that right. And you can sell these TDRs and use the money to fix up your building. And Christine can talk more to how TDRs work. But the idea here is we're giving, the way that the public benefit agreement is structured, the TDRs are given to the developer, and there is no commitment, as some of the residents talked about, to what's going to happen to the schoolhouse. It seems to be going to be used as a canteen or something. And it's very broad and it's not set out. So it's a very esoteric thing, but it's the kind of thing that falls through the cracks when there isn't community involvement, when laws aren't followed. And then the last thing is, you know, this idea of losing a park, right? We're not supposed to lose a park. Well, one of the protections we have for parks is there's in our comprehensive plan, which is really the constitution of our land use, there's a no net loss policy on parkland. So the idea is, you know, not to be a smart aleck, but okay, you're going to park construction equipment and building supplies on our park, so our kids can't use the park. Well, what developer is going to give us their land to take our kids to go play? So like, it's just another law that is, I don't think they've taken into account. I think it's pretty clear that these are all issues that need to be addressed and would be addressed, right, in a normal process of community involvement, competitive bidding, etc. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. But I think the thing I often get frustrated with the city, because all of our frustrations, everything that was articulated here is in the city code. If the city would just enforce the laws and follow what's going on. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, I always say, the breakdown here, I'm a business lawyer, okay? I'm not an activist. I'm a real estate and a business lawyer. I come from the business world. And I always say the way this is supposed to work is there's a developer, and that developer has a legal duty, a fiduciary duty to maximize profit. They want to build as high and as big as they can. They want to take all the land they can. There's the city on the other side, and the city has to negotiate in good faith. And a lot of the things that happened here are evidence of the lack of we got a bad deal because the city didn't stand up for the residents. So here we are spending our time as individuals, as residents, as professionals, backfilling here to try to get this done. You know, I don't know about any of you residents. I'm not getting paid to do this. None of us are getting paid to do this. We're having to spend our valuable time doing this because we believe in this and we believe that these parks and our kids are the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ernesto, because I think you know, we have agency and we're taking advantages. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for us, but we have to do what we have to do to protect ourselves. The idea that someone's going to come along and save us, it's not happening.
Well, the bottom line here is that to answer yes, the observations that Lala made previously, is that our elected officials are not respecting us at all. Bottom line, that is a fact. The only way that we going to continue changing that mind or that attitude is going to the polls, getting active and voting. If we don't do that, these people are not going to respect us. They are not going to do anything for us. The reason why we form Urban Core Community Coalition, because we want to mentor young people to get into political arena. We need to support our young people that want to serve, and we are sick and tired of recycled faces in politics in the city of Miami as well as in the county. We need to walk away from that. That's number one. Number two, yesterday, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I had a long meeting with Commissioner Alex Diaz de la Portilla. By the way, Sam, he compromised that he's going to help us with the park issue. He compromised yesterday. I had 3 hours meeting yesterday evening. So my recommendation, David and Sam, let's send the Commissioner Alex Diaz de la Portilla ASAP all the historical, all the information that we have about the park and the deal. He compromised that. No, 2 compromises he made. He's going to help us with the park, and he's going to compromise himself to help us with the urban core community coalition to start mentoring young people to get into politics. So let's take that first step. Second step is that definitely, David, we need to proceed legally aside from our advocacy with the different commissioners. Because if we don't take this step, nothing is going to help. The same thing that we had taken a step to help our residents on a recall campaign, the same way that we got into a lawsuit against the city because the casinos issue, we need to take these steps. Because one way or the other, that's the only way that these backdoor deals have to be stopped. And if we don't get engaged, if we don't do anything, no respect will be given to us, the taxpayers.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ernesto, and certainly we will follow up on those new requests and help that we've been offered. I have a couple questions here. I'm going to ask one statement. The scale of this project that somebody mentioned, that we need to really mention the scale of the project. As you saw in the drawings that were projected, and I know both the developer and the city have said that those are very early plans and they're not the final plans and that we shouldn't be looking at them, but that's what was sent to us. And so we're going to operate from what we received. And based off those drawings, the scale of this new project is gargantuan. 2,000 units, hundreds of hotel rooms, 1,500 parking spaces, over 200,000 square feet of office space. And look, I just drove the area for the last 2 days, last week, and we're in COVID time with reduced traffic, and you could barely get through there. As I've said over and over, I don't know how the people that would inhabit that new building would even be able to get out of the building to go to work, to go anywhere, because the traffic is so bad and so thick. And for those of you that live in and around it and are spending most of your days trying to drive around back neighborhood roads, it's going to make life even worse for you. So again, all these issues would have been settled had the public had an opportunity to really comment and find out about this. One question I had here is, wasn't Squire supposed to provide a new fire station? We don't have anybody. I don't know if Daniel Pratt, who's here from the city, is prepared to answer anything like that. I don't know that the city was here to answer those questions, but we'll certainly ask about that. And let me see here if I have any other. Excellent. Yeah, and then I've got most of the comments I'm getting here is, look, Miami, the city of Miami, and we know it, is ranked the lowest in terms of access to public green space, open space. And so even this less than an acre piece of space is going to make a huge, huge difference in the residents' access to having public open green space. So with all of that, you now know why this project is so critical to us. Before we end with closing statements, I did want to give Ms. Christine Rupp, who's here with Dade Heritage Trust, if she wanted to say anything about the historic building. I know that Mr. Winker mentioned it. Please feel free, Christine.
Oh, thanks so much, Sam, and good morning, everybody. It's really great to hear the amazing neighborhood advocacy that's come together, speaking with one voice about this project. For those of you that aren't familiar with Dade Heritage Trust, our emphasis is historic preservation. So we work to preserve Miami-Dade County's architectural, environmental, and cultural heritage. So certainly we're interested about green space preservation, tree preservation, as they add to quality of life, and also obviously not just the old schoolhouse that's in Southside Park, But the historic Southside School in and of itself, when you think about the impact of the size of this development on those two historic structures, it's a little scary. I don't see how the construction of this building does not negatively impact not just the park itself, but those two historic structures. So with your assistance and staying engaged, we're going to be following this closely with regard to those historic structures and the impact on green space. And I hope you will all consider us a partner in this advocacy project that you guys have put together, because it's really important. My office is in Brickell. I'm in a full historic one room or one story. You may know across from the 7-Eleven at Southeast 12 Terrace and Brickell Bay Drive. We're in the original doctor's office in Miami of Dr. James Jackson. So we have tall structures all around us. And in fact, when the building just adjacent to the west of Dade Heritage Trust was being constructed, when they were demolishing it, construction debris fell on our building and really negatively impacted the structure, and that took a long time to iron out. So we're very concerned about the schoolhouse. We're also concerned that the city of Miami, we as an organization put together almost a $500,000 funding package to relocate that building and restore it. And it was never used as it should have been used by the city of Miami as a community center for the residents of that area. The city of Miami used it as a storage facility, basically. So that building has amazing potential when you think about it as an amenity for after-school programming, youth programming, things that are sorely needed within this community. So we're going to be working with Sam and David on this, and we obviously have a vested interest in the historic structures, but also in the quality of life of the Brickell residents. So thank you for inviting me today, Sam. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. So where do we go from here before we do closing statements? Because I did get a message from folks. Thank you for the history and knowing about the project. Well, what we need to do is we have to spread the word. Spread the word among your friends, neighbors, and other area stakeholders about the project. And look, we're not saying that everybody is against this project. There may be residents that want this. We want all of the perspectives of taxpayers heard and all stakeholder perspectives heard. So please contact your elected officials. First, your elected officials, because they're accountable to you. A lot of this, though, happened at a staff level and behind the scenes in closed doors. So you also need to contact the city manager, the attorney, and the parks director to let them know your feelings about this and how you feel about being left out in the process. Stay informed and engaged on the issue. Walk the neighborhood. If you see trucks or anything coming around, starting work, let folks know and let us know so that we can follow up on it. And then be prepared to act. As we've said to all the political officials, we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure we don't lose Southside Park. And yes, if that means human beings chaining themselves to trees or park equipment, so be it. But we're not going to lose our park without a fight. So please go out there. As a matter of fact, right now you can visit the Urban Core Community Coalition website, and you will see information about this project along with support materials. You'll also see background meetings where we've talked to political officials about this issue and what they have publicly said so far about it. All the background you need to make the arguments you need with press, people, your neighbors, whoever. But please do not let this issue stay quiet. That is what they want and hope, so that it can move quickly. We want it to be loud, and we want this process slowed down as much as we possibly can. Ernesto, I'll let you do the closing statement.
Well, yes, remain active, go to the polls, don't forget that, register to vote. We need to continue voting, and don't give up. The worst thing that we can do right now is giving up, and we are not going to do that.
This video, by the way, today's press conference was recorded, and once it's ready, it will be distributed to all the media outlets and stakeholders who were originally contacted, and it will be up on the Urban Core Community Coalition website, and I'm sure BHA's website for access. Please send people to those areas. If there was somebody who should have been here today whose story we need to hear, please have them email me or Abby, and so that we can include them in this process. We want our political officials to know that this is the people saying that they want their rights met. And again, to get that promise that was made to them. Live, work, play, learn safely together. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. We look forward to keeping you informed on this process. And I hope to see you all in person sometime soon in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Ernesto, and thanks to all.
Take care.